Hey, welcome back to the Women Consulting Corporate Podcast. I'm your host, LizJSimpson. And in today's podcast, we're going to show y'all how the sausage is made, right? So we have been blessed to have an amazing program that has just taken off in the past 2 years. And we get a lot of praise about our coaching program and, more importantly, the impact of our program. And so regardless of if you're looking at consulting corporate, or if you just have a coaching arm of what it is that you do, I think today's episode will be really insightful as Cheryl and I share how we shape our coaching side of the business and how we ensure that we're measuring impact. I have an esteemed guest today, my co-host, Cheryl Parks, one of our amazing sales and client success coaches at Stimulyst. And Cheryl, I'll kick it off to you. So you were the first coach that we brought on at Stimulyst. And so from your perspective as a coach in the program, what do you think is unique about our coaching methodology and how we yield results for the women we serve?
Okay, so I think there are several parts to it, but I think the first place to start is knowing who your ideal audience is. And understandably, there are only about 30% of the women that actually join the program that are approved. And I think without that leaves too much opportunity for fluctuation, for not knowing who exactly you're working with. So I think that's the first place. And I've always told you that's the secret sauce. So I've always said that that's what the secret sauce is. Literally, it's having the right ideal client. It starts there and understanding who we can help and who we can't help and when we can help them. So that's number one. I think the second place that I would go would be to the overall intake. Just like understanding, I think there was a solid understanding when the program was developed of what needs to be learned about each person so that we know who's coming in with either, what's your superpower or all the way through what are you challenged with? Is that, mindset, et cetera, all the way through what's your favorite snack?
Yep.
Just joking.
No, it's on there. It's on there. And t-shirt size and shoe size.
It is on there. And so I just look at it and I think to myself, it gives such a really solid foundation so that when Heather Petherick and I do the success coaching, we come in understanding who the ladies are, who the women are that have joined, why they've joined, if they have an offering, do they have self-limiting beliefs? And those things change and we can be fluid with it. So 1 week you may have a major issue with self-limiting beliefs and the next week you're knocking it out of the park because you've had 4 meetings and you're ready to go. And we can just be fluid, but at least it gives kind of a solid basis for where the conversation starts. And we always tell the women, if something has jumped ahead of what you put on that form, just let us know and we'll coach from there. So we really meet people where they are.
I love that. You giving credit to the application process is something that I don't think I think I took it for granted. You know what I mean? And as you've let me know, because candidly, as a business owner, in some seasons I've been frustrated by it, right? Mm-hmm. Because, to Cheryl's point, we only approve 30% of the women who apply for our program. Mm-hmm. I mean, that means I'm saying no to 70% of the people who want to spend money with us. So It's not like we're just doing something and taking anybody's money. To discern who is the woman who's ready for what we offer. It takes a lot for us to say, all right, this is the best program for you where you are right now. Right. And it's really hard, right? To tell someone, and sometimes we get feedback and someone's like, why didn't she approve my application? It's like, trust me, if we could say yes, we would, but we're really trying to discern who's going to get the greatest ROI from this. And so it took me a while to realize that creates such a well-curated community. Yes. So that the women who come, and not to say we don't have our ups and downs, but at least the women in the room, and to be clear, to talk about this. So on the application, we literally audit your LinkedIn, your website. There's so many people we've denied simply because they don't have a LinkedIn profile. It's like, if you're not even on LinkedIn, it's like, we don't even have table stakes to talk about you consulting corporate, right? And so, we're looking at someone's website, their LinkedIn profile, which is essentially their resume, what's their background, what's their skill set. We're looking at the language they use on the application, right? Like, because you can tell, Rhonda Britton says that when you open your mouth, your insecurities fall out. And it's amazing how just from the application answers, I can assess the quality of thinking that you have, right? Like, how do you articulate your greatest challenge? How do you articulate your goals? How do you articulate who your ideal buyer is, even if it's hypothetical? And so that illuminates so much for us. Right. And so to your point, when they come in the program and we're onboarding them, like when I'm looking at an application, I'm already strategizing. Right. Like, so I just had a conversation of someone who was looking at joining the program, and she was like asking about the opportunities, and I was like, oh, you could do this or you could do this, and then this problem exists, and she was like, my mind is blown. But it's like, I can read a few answers on an application and already see the potential for your business. So I love that. And then I know we kind of skipped over something. So I'm a coach in the program, Cheryl's a coach, and our third coach that we value so much is Heather Petherick. Heather's in Canada. That's the only reason why she's not here. We couldn't fly her in for this recording, but we value you. We love you, Heather. And so one thing that's unique is for the three of us, we meet weekly and we talk about the women in the program. So we have a weekly coaches call, prep call is what we call it. And in that prep call, we share the wins of the women and their challenges. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Okay. So I would say easily weekly, just a sporadic message will come through that someone had a win. And we literally, everyone has tissues because we're so excited for the person, whether it's the first win or it's a consistent win or it's a mindset win or it's I got a meeting win. I mean, literally, it is a win. I got my positioning down, right? And I'm going to tell you what it is. We celebrate all the wins. And then there are other times when it's a testimonial that comes through. And I'm going to speak to one that just came through. So this is a member who just landed a multiple six-figure deal, just found out. Her message, as she told us about it, she exhaled. And it was very clear how hard you work and how much you do and how consistently you have to show up and all the things and how much you have to have other people pour into you and develop your thinking and flexing your mindset and all the things. And it was like it all poured out in that one exhale. And you could just hear it. And then her voice quivered a little as she continued. But we have those wins all the time.
Like every week. I think we cry on the prep call every single week. Yeah. And we operate as a company out of a Slack channel. So we're like slacking each other. Yes. So I shared that I uploaded the audio or someone's taking a screenshot of a testimonial and they're uploading it. And it's just like we literally as a team just have like praise dances or just have just emotional reactions to it because we see how much blood, sweat, and tears goes into it. Yeah. From a program structure standpoint as well. So we have this application that we only approve 30% of applicants because we want to make sure we can create impact for them. We have the onboarding that you spoke to, and they have one-on-one clarity call. So they're having a one-on-one call with a coach monthly. And those calls are designed, from my perspective, when I initially designed it, it was for two reasons. One, because life is going to happen and they're going to have mindset trash, right, that shows up. And wanted to have an intimate space to be able to talk about that without an audience, with someone you trust. And the second thing is because IPAs are what we teach, income producing activities. Like you have to focus on the 20% that yields the 80% of your impact in your business. And so often there's a fear of sales or an aversion of sales. So I wanted to make sure that every month there was a touch point that was like, what are your numbers? So our clients have a spreadsheet. It's like, in the past month, how many prospects have you contacted? How many discovery calls have you had? How many proposals have you delivered? How many deals have you won? How many deals have you lost? If you don't know your numbers, I don't even want to talk to you. Like, what are your numbers? And we even say if they're goose eggs, report that, but take ownership of your numbers. And so it gives this space of like, one, here are my numbers, right? Because prospects contact that you have ownership of that number, right? It's basically those numbers tell us, are you doing anything to drive the business forward? Or do you want to sit here and tell me your life story, but not take accountability for the action, right? And so you show up with those numbers. And then in addition to that, you have this space to say, this is what I'm doing and life is happening. Right. Let me have someone to talk about it. Yeah. Do you want to share kind of like those clarity calls on what you think, how, like, because clarity calls have evolved. Because I remember in Miami, I had my ideology of what a clarity call would look like. And you're the soldier in the field who's like, no, Liz, this is really how clarity calls need to be. Do you want to talk about that?
So I'll give you a handful of examples, which you, of course, are aware of. But clarity calls have really evolved. And so we always want the numbers. I don't want to give anyone the impression that we're not focused on numbers. So we always want the numbers and the projected revenue for the future, for the next month coming, and or annual, quarterly, whatever you're comfortable with. But beyond that, we have members that come in that have their tweener generation. They're taking care of their parents and their children in the same home. And they're just trying to make it through. They're sometimes doing clarity calls, in a closet somewhere that has lighting because they just need 30 minutes of quiet so they can actually have this conversation. There are others that come to the call with, they know they have mindset stuff going on, and they know that they need just somebody to shake me up a little bit and just say, wait, what? You close this and you have these calls, and what are you saying to yourself in your head? There are others that come in and they know their marching orders and they are just ready to go, and they don't have it. Not to say they won't ever go through a mindset challenge, but it runs the gamut. I've also heard one other phrase that came to mind. And this is someone who has multiple six figures in corporate. And she said, I don't have anyone to have these conversations with because most of my friends are not making the kind of money. And so they don't understand that even though I'm multiple six figures in my business, they're like, what are you complaining about? Or what are you talking about? Or what question do you have? Just keep getting the money. It's not really always about that. It's about operating in excellence. Mm-hmm. So those are just, that's, 4 or 5 examples of the hundreds of calls we've had.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I know who you're talking about. I love her energy and normalizing success.
Yes.
I think so often people are like, I need a space where I can fail forward and make mistakes and feel safe. But especially for women, we need safe spaces where we can brag.
Yes.
And I love bragging. I'm like, screw humility. Like, girl, how much money you made? Let's talk about it. Because we don't have, I think society has villainized money so much, which is why we were initially the big money movement. Because I was like, screw that. We're going to talk, how big of a check can you get, But I realized that for some women in the program, they feel isolated by their success.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. We were having that conversation briefly. And I think, it's normalizing success, and it's also developing how you speak about your success. You don't have to dim your light, but you want to just really stand in it, own it, right? And being able to say, I did that. Like, I pushed myself to make those calls. Yes. I met with them. I actually went back and said I made a mistake somewhere, and going back to the buyer and saying, can I re-propose this to you, right? Or re-engaging when they ghost you sometimes, buyers.
All the time.
When they ghost you, and just re-engaging. And so there's something we talk about on our Q&A, which is we're the board of directors, like all of us as a community, because we're able to actually, you can drop comments into the group and, and just get feedback from other members, which is ideal. You get feedback from the coaches between the Q&A calls. You've got, as you mentioned, the clarity call access, and then the critiques as well. So you have a proposal, and I will say that most people, when they first go to corporate, you're proposing it as if you're buying it and you're letting your husband or wife or your partner or your cousin check the proposal.
Would you buy this?
I know. Oh, this looks great, honey. But it's, unfortunately, that's not what buyers buy on. They don't buy on aesthetics. They buy on the return on investment. They buy on whether you're solving a problem. They buy on whether they actually have an initiative to have this problem solved. So the proposal you're putting together has a structure. And that's another part of, that is a huge part.
Yeah.
We
have women who say they would just pay for the program to have critiques.
100%.
And that's a big part of our coaching. And I'll kind of break it down even more. So our clients get the opportunity to submit a critique weekly. And critique could be, hey, I had this discovery call with these stakeholders. I recorded it. Can you watch it and give me feedback? Right? People don't realize how powerful that is to have veterans. I'm sorry, I don't have time for humility. Veterans in the game to watch your discovery and call and say, I'll give a perfect example. Jamie, I'm going to put you on the spot, Jamie. Jamie had a discovery call and she thought it didn't go well. I lost them here. I was, and she saw it one way. But thankfully, she recorded the Zoom and submitted it to me for review. Right. So I watch it and I'm like, no, did you hear you say this 3 minutes in? Actually, I have a different perspective. That other stakeholder, did you hear what they said? Right. It's like, when you're in a game, you think that it looked one way and then you look at the tape and you're like, no, that's not how the play went. Right. And so you learn and then you're more conscious in other conversations. And it's like, people put so much effort into things that I think are low value efforts. If you know that you could be landing 6, 7, 8-figure deals through your conversation, why wouldn't you study the conversations and learn how to navigate those conversations better? So that's one thing that we do. And another thing, to your point, are the proposals. It's funny. I think it was Kimberly who's like, every proposal I've submitted for critique, I've won. Like the power of having a team of coaches. And I did the stats because we have our infrastructure. We're able to quantify everything. We can see every critique we've had. And I did the stats like 6 months ago. And 6 months ago, we had reviewed like 500 proposals. So keep in mind, combined, Heather, Cheryl, and I have over 50 years of corporate sales experience ourselves, right? We have our own infrastructure. And then on top of that, we've reviewed over 500 corporate proposals. And we see which ones win, right? So then our women then come in, and it's before you provide a proposal to a corporate client, you submit it to us for review, and we're giving you feedback on everything. I mean, I know some proposal critiques, I've spent hours doing my homework, looking at the initiatives for that corporation, saying, you know what, that situation summary, are you identifying this here, this value? Right. You're quantifying the ROI, but I don't think you're considering this. So it's like, that type of coaching and level of attention to detail. A lot of times critiques were like, here's the Google Doc of 4-page of notes of research that I did to help you understand this corporation before you present this proposal. So things like that alone, I think, are major value.
And I always have to loop back to the community as well. I mean, I cannot say this enough. The women in the program are high performance, high achievers. If you are one or you think you're one, believe me, your thoughts the momentum of your thoughts can take you far if you actually have what's necessary. LinkedIn profile, website, that's what you said, just in case. Okay, and you've got a sense of a problem that you can solve. I also like the fact that we go reverse outcome, right? So traditionally, we are trained in school to go through and get certifications and degrees and all of the things. Learn it, get rewarded. Learn it, get rewarded. But when we get out into the business world, they want the answer.
I'm not rewarding nothing,
Right. They want the answer first, right? And then tell me about it. So we look for problems to solve and then how your expertise would solve it and what would be the return on the investment of the organization getting the problem solved. Are they going to save money? Are they going to get increased revenue? Are they going to increase market share? Like what's important to them, as you mentioned about the research.
No, you're right. Research. I love that. One of the, just 2 things I want to talk about before we wrap up is, we talk about the testimonials and how emotional we get about the wins and how the wins encourage us. But I want to be candid about how the clients who've come in the program that have challenged us the most, what is it that challenges us the most? The women who struggle, why do we think they struggle? And how their struggle has helped us reshape the program as well. Do you kind of want to lead with that?
So I think 99.9% of the women that come through the program are highly coachable. They may have said, enough is enough. I'm going to listen to whatever you tell me to do. We've heard that before. Or it could be, I know there's like some other piece, there's some glue here and I'm missing it. And they just need that glue, right? So they have everything except something's just not going. And so those are 2 scenarios. But every now and then, and it could be a mood for someone, a season. I'm not saying that it's a personal situation, but there's this filibustering of trying to explain everything you've done, almost to say like, I've done it all and it doesn't work. And we're like, okay, hold on, because all that you're doing isn't really the directive. So let's stay focused on, like you said, income producing activities. Let's stay focused on where we should be to get to an outcome for your potential buyer or for someone that you're having a conversation with. Maybe they're not a buyer. Maybe they're going to refer you to someone. And helping them understand that you use the term surrender in discovery calls. I'd never heard that term. It's a really good term. In discovery calls, it's that surrender of just let me be open, ask good questions, understand what they need. Why would they be motivated to make a move, make a decision? And then when you're in proposal mode,
boss,
whole different program.
Yeah, it's a different energy.
Yeah.
I agree. When I think of, I'm thankful for the women who have challenged me the most in this program because most recently we have completely restructured the program, right? Going from the big money movement to the 12%. And when our whole team was on a call, we thought about our most challenging clients and we said, if we could have somehow redesigned this program for even them to get success. Right. And when I say challenging, I mean, these are people who are committed to their excuses. Let me be 100. Yes. It's not like, listen, the process works. It's proven, right? But there are certain people who come in the program who are so committed to their excuses. And it's like, okay, if that person came in, if we could do anything, what is it that we could do to jolt them from this map of the world and this belief system? And I love just the time that we've taken to really think about that. And I think even for coaching programs, people are like, it's not just coaching for your ideal client. Right. It's coaching for the weakest link. Yes. Who is the weakest possible link? And then how do you ensure success for them? And for us, what it's been, I think for the few that we've had challenges with that we've had to jolt is a little bit of, I don't like the word tough love, but it is blunt. Before I let you go to fall for your excuses, I'm now going to do a pattern interrupt. Right. So either you're going to hear me now and hear your pattern and disrupt it, or years later, when you've had, Groundhog's Day for 3 more years and you're tired of it, you're going to hear that someone told you the truth. Because most of what gets in their way is a belief system. Right. And I think, there are a lot. So the women who come in our program, they have expertise. So there's a lot of pride. Definitely. And I think Marshawn Evans says, don't let what you do know be held hostage by what you don't know, which is a quote that I love because so many women, they let their pride around the existing expertise they have get in the way of admitting you don't know shit about building a business. Right? So yes, I value your expertise and you're a kindergartner over here building a consulting firm. Right. So there's a duality. I can respect your expertise, but also pour into the woman who's still trying to build a business. And some women struggle with trying to protect the ego. Right. But the problem is when you're doing that, you're not receptive and open to receiving because you're lying about your challenges. Yeah. We see it, we know it, right? So since I'm not going to call you out by name, I can call bullshit. It's no, I don't have any challenges. It's girl, you're going to miss out on your blessings because you're trying to act like you got it all together. Right. Right. And we've had that, sometimes it's been through emails or communication where it's been here's what we're seeing. Here's the opportunity. Here's what you're doing. Here's the ways we're looking to support you. Yeah. At this point, are you ready to make a new decision for yourself?
Yeah. And I think it's so courageous. You mentioned sometimes the members will provide recordings to their meetings. Okay. As a salesperson who is out there that did not even like to have my coworkers with me, your coworkers know what you're supposed to say. So I would always, the most nervous I would be when someone from my company was with me because they knew exactly what I was supposed to be saying. The client don't know. They don't know. Script. Right? So it's really nice when they actually turn in the recording or submit the recording for critique because that's a courageous move to have the people that you trust to actually listen and hear and give you potentially criticism, right? The one that you mentioned was, no, it's not that. But there are times when we're like, I think you're missing it because you're not including these couple of items. And so that's courageous of them, but that's where we learn more. Yeah. And we're able to say, okay, the thought process is this, but it should be over here. Yeah. And we're able to adjust as a team.
Yes.
That's the best part. And we're able to make the program that much better because we're able to adjust.
Yeah. I think sometimes as a coach where some coaching programs might go awry is you're coaching hypothetical situations.
Perfect.
And you get on a coaching call. Of course, a client really doesn't have, they don't always have an accurate depiction of how they're showing up in the world.
Right.
And you need records.
Right.
Like, give me I hear what you think happened, but give me records of how you're showing up so I can coach to how you're really showing up and supporting you with that. And I think the radical candor as well is important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other piece of it is, I always say, and you just mentioned this, being a student and a leader in the same moment. Yeah. So having to drop this idea that I'm the expert, and we work so hard to get there that it is hard to let go of, but then being a student in the same moment.
Yeah. I say I'm a master student.
Yeah.
Like, no one will outlearn me. That's kind of like my goal.
I say no one will outheart me.
Oh, that shows up. I love it. Listen, if you would like more behind the scenes conversations like this of how we've built just a rapidly growing movement, empowering women to consult, make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you listen to us on all your favorite streaming podcast platforms. I'm LizJSimpson, accompanied by the Queen of Heart here, Cheryl Parks, who's not going to out-heart me. Listen. And we will see you on the next episode of Women Consulting Corporate. Bye.